Bachelor Nation, will you accept this rose? We love you. Love is in the air. It's magic. 'Cause love is on the air. On TV. So love is on the air. Podcast. It's a podcast. Podcast. Love is in the air. It's magic. 'Cause love is on the air. On TV. So love is on the air. A podcast. It's a podcast. Andy, Liv, Sarah, and Glenn. Bachelor Pod, it's the Bachelor Pod. It's a podcast about the Bachelor.
The Bachelor Pod starts now.
Welcome to the Bachelor Pod. Up first, a special vacation message from Andy and Sarah.
Hey everybody, it's Andy here, and Sarah's with me.
What's up?
As well as Sarah's dad, Greg. Howdy. We are currently 23 kilometers from the Quebec and New Brunswick border. We just passed a place called St. Louis du Ha-Ha, as in the laugh. That's real. That really is a real place. And it's beautiful out here. We have not seen the episode. We don't know what happens to old Dean's dad. We got a few ideas, but we're not really sure.
I think he did a tarot reading.
Sarah thinks he gave a wicked tarot reading on the floor of his place on top of all those fancy pillows. Any speculation as to why Dean cried?
Because his dad sucks, but also I do know he gets kicked off. I did get a spoiler.
He is in Bachelor in Paradise. We know that.
Yeah, we knew that, and I knew that before, and then it did show up. But yeah, I don't know. This looks like pretty exciting. I've been asleep for a good, 6 hours. So I've missed everything. We were listening to a book on tape called The Black Company, and I don't really know what's happening in that either. So
yeah, Sarah's not been paying attention to the book on tape, although I have. And let's just say the Taken are in some trouble right now. But anyways, hopefully Glenn and Liv give you a good rundown of what happened this episode, and we'll be...
We have no idea what happened. It's all speculation. We got nothing. What do you think?
We got nothing. Pure speculation. Greg, what do you think happened on this week's episode of The Bachelorette?
Nothing important.
Well, he said nothing important, and you know what, honestly? We already knew Dean was gone, so it's probably true. So here we go. We're signing off. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
And welcome to a special half-priced edition of the Bachelor Pod. Half price, not in price, but in human currency. That is, Andy and Sarah are away on a trip to her brother's wedding in Prince Edward Island.
So you're stuck with us.
Yeah, so for all you Sarah and Andy heads, this is your worst nightmare. But for you Glenn Liv fans, this is your best nightmare.
If you are fans of Gliv, which is our brand name, this is the episode for you.
Not only is it our brand name, but we recently inherited a Volkswagen 2004 Jetta GLI. So the GLI is at the back of the car, and Liv wants to add the V to make it our own, our brand Gliv. But I don't want to mess with this sort of stock imagery of the car.
A 2004 Jetta you don't want to mess with?
You know, in the Volkswagen community, the Jetta GLI is quite revered. My brother was driving it, and he got a shout-out by a guy at the gas station.
Well, I still want to put a V on it.
I'm not going to put a V, but if you have an opinion, hit us up on Twitter at The Bachelor Pod. Let us know, should we put a V at the back of our car where it says GLI?
Maybe we should do a Twitter poll. Let's see.
Yeah, we'll see the kind of response. We'll check the stats after this. If it turns out people are tuning out right now because they love Andy and Sarah so much, then we won't. But you know what? I'm confident that everyone loves the Bachelor Pod as a whole, and that any little piece of it is valuable in and of itself, right?
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, just my own sort of confidence to think that people are entertained by me and you just sitting here in our bedroom talking to each other. Hey, if you like it, that's great.
I have to admit it does feel a bit weird not talking to Andy and Sarah, because usually we have them on Skype and we can see them and we have something to play off of, but now we're just sitting here alone in our bedroom.
Yeah, and they're two huge personalities, so we're going to do our best to get huge as well. Hey, like that.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Or in the words of our old theater troupe, high knees, lots of confetti.
Oh.
You know what that means?
Go big?
Yeah, exactly. High knees, lots of confetti. We're going to do it up this week. And this week it's not that hard because this week was Hometowns, one of the most highly anticipated episodes of any Bachelor or Bachelorette season.
Always my favorite. Well, except the debut episode, but yeah, Hometowns.
Yeah, next to the season premiere, Hometowns is probably the best. I mean, on paper, the fantasy suite should be good because it's all about getting straight down.
It always sucks, though.
Yeah, it's not like you get to see anything anyway.
Nah.
So.
Nah,
Not
that
like-
one's maybe the most overrated episode.
There should be a late night edition, kind of like when Blind Date used to do Blind Date Uncensored. And you just stumble upon it at like 11 or 12 on a Friday, and there was no rhyme or reason for it being on, but they'd show boobs.
And did they show swears, too?
Yeah, I would imagine. I don't really remember. We'd have
Yeah.
to ask Roger Lodge that question.
I feel like you watched more Blind Date Uncensored than I did.
Well, I watched
so
a lot
you
of
would know.
Blind Date.
No, so did I. Blind Date proper.
Do you remember how the theme song went? Because I do.
Well, if
But I
you,
know now, but I know now.
that doesn't
That's
sound
not an
familiar
accurate.
at all.
It's not an accurate representation. I'm sorry, I didn't have the right timbre going. But
I more remember Eliminate.
now, but now, bow now. It was this cool guitar lick.
Oh.
Cool, maybe not cool, but anyway.
I'm sure I know it the second I heard the real thing, but yeah, that's not taking me back. Sorry.
Well, if you're able to pause what you're doing right now, check out the Blind Date theme song, and then come back right now. Okay, we're back talking about Hometowns, Bachelorette, Rachel Lindsay, and overall, I thought this was a killer Hometowns.
yeah. It promised a lot, and I think it delivered.
Yeah, and there was something about the pacing of this episode that I found better than normal. And I remember by the time hour 1 finished, I was like, how the hell are they going to fill another hour? I mean, knowing that Dean's family was coming up, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I still didn't know how they would fill that much time, though.
But it worked. Like, at no point, sometimes during Hometowns, I'm like, okay, let's get it over with. Like, they talked to too many family members saying the same sort of things. But this was like 1.5 family members per hometown. Usually
Yeah.
it's a full 2 at least. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But in this one, they sort of had like a feature interview, then sort of a smaller little one. And then, of course, the preamble, which is always sort of showing them around their hometown. First up was Eric in Baltimore, Maryland. Eric seemed a little nervous about this in the previous episode. I don't want to say he was ashamed of being from Baltimore. Far from it. I think he's very proud. But he wanted to adequately prepare Rachel for the fact that he grew up in a rough neighborhood. His childhood wasn't particularly ideal compared to Rachel's, where she was, sort of like a Texas socialite growing up.
Yeah.
With her powerful judge father. But when Rachel showed up, they took to a very nice park in Baltimore, sort of oversaw the whole city.
That's where, not that park per se, but where they first met up is where you were on your Bachelor
Yes, the very gentrified
party. Yeah.
part of Baltimore is where we went back in June, so I sort of recognized it. But you don't have to venture very far outside that area to get to where you also saw in this episode where there's like buildings boarded up and that sort of thing. Like Baltimore is, it's had its troubles, right?
Yeah.
But I thought, of the bunch, this date arguably went the best, which does not bode well for Eric in the coming weeks. Because as we've talked about, usually when a date goes well, that sort of spells certain doom because they're trying to trick us and they want us to think that everything's going fine.
I don't want to give you too much credit, but I feel like you came up with this theory about the hometown dates, the ones that don't go well, like you just said, the guy ends up, or girl ends up advancing. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll take credit. Sure. I mean, in the world of the Bachelor pod, I might have come up with it.
That's what I'm
Whether
saying.
or not that's a theory.
Well, what I'm getting at is we have what we call the Yarmo Index, based on Steph Yarmo's theory, and we could give this a name if you want.
The Macaulay theorem.
All right. Well, that kind of includes me too, so I like it.
There you go.
Okay.
And speaking of the Yarmo Index, it actually comes into play later in this episode.
It does.
So Eric's date started. They shot a few hoops. Rachel once again showed off how good she is at basketball. At which point we mentioned to each other while watching this that she had banged Kevin Durant, which I guess is totally has been out in the public for a while now. But there's rumors she dated Kevin Durant. Kevin just straight up kind of had no comment. But I think it's obvious.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's just say that they did.
Yeah, let's just say that they did. So they played hoops. They played hoops, and then they were joined by Eric's childhood best bud.
Yeah. Well, I didn't catch his name. I'm sure it was said at some point, but I don't know.
I also don't remember that. I think he was there for when they went home too.
But the basic summation of all that was that Eric's a good guy who's fought through a lot. He got out of Baltimore to sort of make a better life for himself, which not a lot of people around them actually managed to do. Mm-hmm. So this whole theme of, Eric's strength, I guess, was prevalent here. And what we noticed when we were watching it was that Eric, he sort of had an up and down ride so far, I'd say. It's by no means been perfect, right? There's been times where I don't know if I like Eric. But as I noticed, when he was taken away from the group, which is sort of where all his problems started, where he got to be alone with Rachel, he does so well. And they seem probably more natural together than anyone else, save for maybe Peter.
Yeah, it took me a long time to get past his insecurities. It was so irritating how he just would not stop fixating on how much time he was getting, the classic, insecurity. But now that he's definitely past that and seeing his chemistry with Rachel, it's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, when they're together, you just kind of feel like you're watching a couple on a dating show.
Yeah, all he's got to do is get properly fitted clothes and he's good to go.
Which I think he's improved upon as well.
Yeah, I didn't notice any
Didn't notice it, yeah.
big suit jackets this week, so that's good.
And it's been a long journey for Eric because he was one of the OGs who was on, I guess it was the Women Tell All or After the Final Rose.
Let's think about that. So Eric was one of the preview guys. Dean was one of the preview guys.
Bryce, I believe, was.
I'm just trying to think. Brian wasn't. Was Peter? I don't think so.
I think it was Bryce.
But it's kind of
fucking dickhead.
I think it doesn't mean anything really, but I find it sort of interesting that two of the preview guys are in the final four.
That is interesting, and we liked. Well, no, was it Dean who made the black comment? Okay, so that was a little weird. But I remember liking Eric off the bat because he did the dancing.
Yeah.
And he seemed the most natural. Also a handsome man to
I
boot.
did like DeMario then, but
Yeah, we all know what happened with that. Although it turns out he might be totally innocent. So.
Well, yeah, I was also thinking of how he left Rachel's season with the whole, he had a girlfriend and
Oh, that's right.
didn't tell her he was going on the show.
Also
so.
Could have been a psycho, the way it
Yeah, jury's still out. Just saying.
Jury's out on DeMario. He's got a lot to prove. But yeah, so this was really, they brought up, or rather, Eric brought up sort of how his journey had started when he got to his Aunt Verna's house.
Yeah, and when they did the introductions, it took me a while to realize his Aunt Verna was not his mom because she looks to me exactly like him.
Yeah, dead ringer. And actually, when you saw his mom, but her hair was covering a lot of her face, and when you looked sort of deeply at it, you could see it. But
you can see it a little, but
I mean, my uncle, I look probably more like my uncle than I do my dad.
You do. When I first met your uncle, I was like, is there something your parents aren't telling you? Because you look so much more like him, but I see a bit of your dad in you too. This is so interesting for people who don't know what you look like.
An interesting fact about me is that my face has constantly been changing since I was a little kid.
That's true.
We were looking at a grade 10 yearbook at a wedding over the weekend, and Sarah, co-host of this pod, saw my grade 10 picture, and she was like, "That's you?"
Oh, really? Yeah. I thought, ever since you were just about pubic, I think you've looked relatively the same.
No, I still wasn't as sharp as I am.
Okay. But as a baby, oh my God, I couldn't pick you out of a lineup.
No, it's true. It's true. I don't know what that means. Maybe I'm an alien.
I've looked the same my whole life. I don't know what that means.
Well, most people do.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hit us up. Let us know.
Don't know what the stats are on that. Don't know. But, Eric, when he met his family, they're like, start at the beginning. Rachel's like, no, start at the beginning. They talked about him being on the show, and they all did their little dance, which was really cute. And then they got down for the conversations, and I guess there were a few conversations here. Verna got the first one, and I guess this was the major one. I learned today that Verna is like a very well-respected speaker and activist.
Oh.
Like she's done TED Talks and that sort of thing. And that came across because she asked Rachel about the pressures of being the first Black Bachelorette. Which obviously Rachel replied, "It's been tough." Yeah,
and as she brought up, she's being judged by two different groups, I guess, and there's so much pressure. I really feel for her.
And quote Rachel, "My journey for love shouldn't be any different than the other 12 bachelorettes that were in front of me."
Yeah.
Well said. So that was cool.
Fully agree.
So Verna was awesome. Hopefully see more of her should Eric reach
Maybe she'll be the next Bachelorette.
That would be awesome. Introducing Verna. That'd be pretty cool. But then
I'd watch that.
Eric also had some. That was with Rachel. Eric had some conversations with his ma and pa, sort of working out. I don't know if unresolved is the right word for it, but
Yeah, that's how a lot of these hometowns tend to go. The parents or loved ones talk about the relationship with the bachelor or bachelorette, but they also end up having kind of a therapy session with their own child.
yeah, and it seemed like whether with Dean we knew that things kind of were totally unresolved.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how much Eric had talked about this before with his parents.
Yeah, it just almost always ends up them talking about the past and their family, and I always find that part interesting.
Yeah, Eric's was quite nice, actually. His father apologized from, quote, some of the stuff that you had to see. And his mom talked about, or Eric had a problem with his mom kind of pushing him away because Eric had said he'd never had love before, even from his mom. But she said it was to make him a better man.
Yeah.
And they sort of resolved that. And you know what? I think Eric is a good man.
Yeah, he's a pretty good man.
Yeah, decent man. So they had a fake meal where they had a dinner setting with.
Is that the one
food.
where it was just a pile
Fat
of food?
plate? Yeah. One of these days I want to see someone eat something.
I was just gonna say, I hope they actually ate all that.
Highly doubt they did.
Yeah.
Well, actually, who knows? Maybe they just sit there and smell it the whole time, and then it gets to a point they're like, okay, camera's off, chow down.
Hope it was at least still warm by then.
So the big question at the end of all these hometown dates is whether or not the gentleman, or in the bachelor's case, the woman, is going to take the next step in their love ladder. So depending on where they were before, usually before this, they're about at the spot where they're falling in love.
The head over heels part.
Falling in love, then head over heels. Now at this point, it's usually in love.
Yeah.
And then you save love for the end.
Yeah.
Now, Eric said, I really love this girl, I believe.
Yeah, that's a little indirect. He didn't say I'm falling in love with you. He just kind of rambled a bit about that to Rachel. Didn't she at the end of it say he launched into it like he was gonna say it and then he didn't?
Yeah.
But she seems pretty
subtle.
satisfied.
I don't think it
anyway.
was a big issue.
No,
and
I don't
again,
think so.
this was the date that sort of went just fine.
Yeah.
All his fears about Baltimore. I mean, Verna's condo is beautiful.
Yeah.
Not that that matters at all, but
No,
yeah.
that didn't seem to be an issue at all.
Now, yeah, I mean, I don't see Eric winning, which is a damn shame because I think they make a good couple. But hey, man, he's through the fantasy suite. She'll get to bang him, which you can tell she's wanted to do more or less since day one, so that should be good. I don't know. What do you think the issue is going to be with them? What do you think is going to hold them back?
I don't know if it's going to be anything specific. It just might be one of those things where she just feels more for, let's face it, Peter.
Yeah.
And it's just that's it. She just wants Peter more.
And of course, the other man whose name we haven't mentioned is Bryan.
Oof.
Date number 2.
Oh boy.
Bryan. Now they start things off. They're in Miami, or Miami, as they say in the Will Smith song of the same name.
Benvenido a Miami?
Yes, welcome to Miami. And what it seemed like to us was that it's like the Miami Tourism Board paid a little more than Baltimore because they were like, and this is famous 9th Street where the Miami flavor really comes alive.
Yeah.
Whereas like Baltimore maybe didn't shell out and they're like, well, we'll put it for that price, like we'll film on top of this hill. And that's about it. We're
That's
definitely
all you
going to
get.
we're going to show some boarded up houses, sorry, but Miami gave us like twice what you got. Because they played dominoes with like friendly old men.
Yep.
I don't know.
Brian
what else
showed
did they
off
do?
his Spanish.
Oh yeah, that's true. Which is effortless for someone who knows Spanish, so it's kind of cheap. They salsa danced a little. They were in Little Havana, so that was pretty cool. But then things were decidedly uncooler when they got to Brian's family's house.
Oh man. So Brian's mom just she's a piece of work.
Yeah, and as we mentioned last week, we had a feeling it would be a Kevin W. situation from Bachelorette Canada, wherein the mother is overbearing and very possessive of her
And
son.
is obsessed with him, and turns out we were right.
You're exactly right. Bachelor Pod called it. Bing,
Yep.
bing, bing. I wish I had a sound effect to play there, but I'm not going to go back and add it. Bing, bing, bing will have to do.
I like Bing Bing Bing.
And I will say this, though. It was a little unfair for the... I don't know if you guys noticed this moment where they showed Brian's mom, Olga, chugging that little bit of wine or liqueur. And then they sort of zoomed in on it, like to be like, watch out, she's gonna go crazy.
I think they really stretched that out. It probably wasn't like JoJo's mom mainlining that bottle.
you can't edit JoJo's mom.
No.
But this felt like, well, maybe it was just like a shot of liqueur or something.
Yeah, I don't think it was as exaggerated as they made it out to be. I think that's the most they could do to villainize her other than verbally.
Yeah, and speaking of verbally, Olga just would not stop the gush fest with her 37-year-old son, saying things like, he is the most precious thing I have in my life. And she cried as she was saying that kind of thing.
I'm sorry, but could there be a bigger red flag than this? I don't think so.
Bryan's in my life. He's my love. He's my pride. We really have such a wonderful relationship that for me, a woman that separated him from me, that would be terrible. At 37, I mean, I could understand.
At like 20 or something.
Right. And hey, we don't have kids, but I know that parents never lose that with their children.
Yeah.
My mom's told me that. It's like, you never stop worrying about your kids.
Of course.
But
you have to let them live their lives.
you definitely got to let them live their lives, which Olga does not appear like.
Olga's not letting go.
And if you watch the tag at the end of the episode, there's another funny psychotic scene of Olga noticing Bryan's haircut and saying how bad it
and
looked.
his weight. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's real bad.
Bryan's actually pretty well adjusted for having a mom like that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know him that well,
That's
though.
true. He is a bit of a cipher.
Yeah, he's been so fake.
Yeah.
Like, before they got to his house, he said, "I'm obsessed with your smile." Like, it's all these stock answers.
And
like
he's an only child, right?
Yeah, and hey, no offense to all you only children out there. I'm sure most of you are awesome.
Oh, I know some cool only children, but I know some crazy ones too.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dice roll. I mean, it depends how good your parents were. Obviously,
Yeah.
Bryan's, I don't know.
And his dad, what a wet blanket.
Yeah, and he said he was an only child, but who was that woman?
Yeah,
Was that
I
a
was confused
half-sister,
by
maybe?
that. I don't know. There's always such a frenzy when they meet the family and they don't introduce everybody, so I'm always left thinking, who's that? Is that like a sister? Is that a cousin? I don't know.
In a review I have, it says sister, but he did say only child, so it must be a half sister. That's the only explanation I can come up with.
Who knows? And probably, if it is, it's probably through his dad because his mom did not seem
Yeah,
to give
exactly.
a shit about her.
But even the sister seemed weird. Remember the way she put it when talking about the ex-girlfriend? We sort of got some backstory to that. She said, like, she wanted him for herself, and that was her demise.
Yeah, it was
Demise?
so sinister. Like, ugh.
And, I mean, yeah, God forbid a girlfriend wants their 35-year-old boyfriend to themselves.
Yeah, not to, like, spend time with his family all the time.
Yeah, Olga even said, if he's happy, I'm happy. If not, I'll kill you.
I laughed pretty hard at that.
So Olga talked to Rachel. Olga told Rachel she'd be praying that Rachel would be the one. And that, she would share Rachel should Bryan want it that way. So I guess it got resolved. I'll use the word resolved again for the millionth time in this podcast. But he basically got approval, right?
Yeah, I think so. And, I mean, was there any doubt that Bryan would have any problem saying I love you? No.
No, not at all. We didn't even hear from Bryan's dad, by the way.
No,
just kinda
he
sat
said
there.
maybe 2 words.
But I bet Olga controls him more than
Oh, that's
anything.
a classic couple right there.
Yeah.
One's domineering, one is a wet blanket.
And up until this point, I mean, we said for a while Bryan's played a perfect game. Over the last few weeks, we've started to see the cracks with him being fake and that sort of thing. So I can't fucking wait for next week when Rachel's family, including the big judge, sinks their teeth into Bryan, because it looks like in the preview that he gets nailed and that he even excuses himself.
Oh, are you telling me you're getting tricked?
I'm getting tricked.
You're getting tricked already?
I'm getting tricked.
We haven't even seen the episode.
But, hey, we were bound to see the demise of Bryan at some point.
know, but I'm hesitant to say that's what happens. I definitely don't think Bryan's going to be the final guy, but I'm not getting tricked.
Yeah, I mean, Bachelor Nation's been calling Eric and Peter in the final 2 since week 2?
Yeah.
Another damn shame about this show is how predictable it is.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, we still watch it, we analyze it, and we do a podcast about it for you. Well, do we have anything else to say about Bryan?
No.
I mean, this Olga thing was insane.
Just the nail in the coffin for me. Just get out of here.
Yeah. And
Go marry your mom.
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't really feel bad for him, but after people see this, are they going to want to date Bryan?
It might not be a red flag for some people, but for me, the whole screen was red at that point. I couldn't take it.
Blood red screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. It was real rough. Bryan looked okay. I don't think his haircut was as bad as...
Nah, he looked
they made it
fine.
out
His
to
mom
be.
is just nuts.
Yeah, and I don't remember specifically if Rachel, in any of those talking heads, did she mention, like, this Olga's a little nuts or anything?
No, which... I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Like, maybe... No, you'd think if she said something, they'd include it.
And she's not stupid.
No.
She would have heard the story from the, quote, sister, unquote, and seen Olga in person, obviously. And you gotta put two and two together at that point.
Maybe she already has her hierarchy of dudes, and so if she knows she doesn't want to marry Bryan, then maybe she's just like, meh.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, at the end of the day, I would not label this date super successful.
No, it was okay.
It was entertaining, though. It had elements of JoJo's mom, Kevin W.'s mom, and that sort of thing, which was cool. So I almost wish I had seen more of this.
No, I'm good. That kind of personality, his mom, it just drives me bananas. I can't take it.
Like, physically ill.
Well, no, I wasn't throwing up or anything when
You
we were
throwing
watching.
up. I saw it.
Nah. I got enough of Olga. Olga can go away now.
What about our boy Petey here? We headed to Madison, Wisconsin. Have you been to Madison?
I haven't. I've been other places in Wisconsin. I hear nothing but good things about Madison, though.
You've been to Milwaukee.
I have.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That was the setting for the 2011 film Bridesmaids.
Yes, it was.
It was probably later than that. When was Bridesmaids released?
No, I think you're right.
2013?
No, I think you're bang on. 2011.
The G-Man.
Good job.
So this was I would classify, I did like this whole episode, and I did like every one of the dates, but in the hierarchy, this one was the most boring.
Yeah.
It was pretty limp, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, Peter seems to hold all the cards. They still showed Rachel saying, "Ooh, I don't know, I want to get proposed to at the end of this. I don't know," but it's still like, "Oh, is he ready?" No, it's not. It shouldn't be about that. It's like if you want to be with him or not.
Yeah, and it sucks. I remember reading an article. Somebody analyzed they went back and watched the first season of The Bachelor, and noted how different it was. And I think it's really interesting if you can find it, but I think they mentioned how the proposal wasn't even like, I mean, the show's transformed in one where the proposal is a must. Mm-hmm. Whereas it would make a lot more sense if it was like, well, it'd be nice. Why don't we just form a relationship, see what happens? If the proposal happens, cool, that's good TV. If not, whatever. Sort of like Juan Pablo, right?
Yeah.
So I hate how the proposal is, they're under so much pressure to propose that's what they're creating drama out of with Peter when it doesn't really matter.
And it's ridiculous because I know this is a heightened reality, but when Peter says, "Oh, I really like this girl, I see a future, but I don't know if I want to propose right now." And it's like, yeah, of course. You've known her for like 7 weeks.
Yeah, that's the same thing. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
So, yeah. I mean, that's the kind of thing where you got to just turn off your brain, really.
Just like, I don't know, give her a promise ring or something. Like, you don't have to propose. Although, I'm not trying to dismiss the meaning of a proposal, but like in the Bachelor world, it doesn't really mean much anyway.
Yeah, especially when you go on the show, and it's not like, you know, even if you're religious, I don't think when you propose, it's like
backing out now.
You utter a prayer and you're under the eyes of God.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole Peter storyline's getting really,
it's
like a broken record. Like even his mom said, I think he's ready to start a family and to have someone in his life to share all of these growth things with. Is it, here's a ring and I want to propose to you? Not necessarily.
Ugh.
Like that just feels like they fed that line directly to her.
Well, it's like they have no drama with Peter other than this, and it's so obvious that he's in the top 2 anyway. This is all they could come up with.
Well, I think it's a certainty that the families get briefed by producers beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
And they try to steer it in one direction.
I don't know.
Because it happens, it's the same every time, more or less, where the family has one specific doubt that is consistent with the rest of the season, and then they talk to the person, and usually it's fine.
Yeah.
With the exception of, like, Desiree's brother and
That was awesome.
Oh, love Desiree's brother.
Still one of my favorite moments of this
Because it was unexpected, right?
Yeah.
They probably tried to brief him. He's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that really was a curveball for the production there.
And Dean's dad tried his best, but he just got overwhelmed.
Yeah,
when Dean
we'll
confronted
get to
him.
that,
Yeah.
but oof.
So this was when Peter met up with his buddies at the pub in Madison. Now, I'm not saying any, people obviously have diverse groups of friends, but this felt like it was like a group of friends out of Central Casting.
I know.
It didn't really... It's not that they didn't look... It's not that they look different. It's their personalities all seemed weird.
Yeah, it was a bit much. I mean, I know he has other friends, and it was probably a little staged. It was just, I don't know.
Yeah, and the friends seem to approve, but again, it's almost like Peter. They've met her for 5 minutes. They're like, yeah, she seems cool.
Yeah, she seems nice, I guess. If any of them had seen The Bachelor, they got to know her a little bit from TV.
And yeah, and unfortunately, Peter's... I mean, I guess he's been like this the whole time, but he's coming across as being kind of boring.
Oh, yeah. No, he is boring. That's also kind of... Well, no, I was going to say that's also kind of why sometimes I'm attracted to him, sometimes I'm not. But all the guys on the show, with it like a 1% exception, are boring, so...
Yeah, when he talks to Rachel, I think they have good conversation, and Rachel is so bubbly.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was talking to his buddies or doing a talking head, it's like... I don't really see a lot of personality there.
No.
Although when he did have his niece on his knee, he showed a little exuberance.
Man, she was melting.
Well, I thought you were going to say something about the niece. She was, crazy? I don't know. I don't know what the adjective was going to be. I was like, we didn't really see that much of the niece to form that strong of opinion.
I fell in love with her.
Charlotte, I believe her name was. But he really had the typical all-American family.
Yeah.
Plush couches with drink holders. His mom with a Kate Ass Gosling haircut.
Yeah, his family seemed nice, normal. Yeah, he just seems normal and kind of boring.
Now, do you think if somehow Peter loses this, which, again, I don't think he will, is he the next Bachelor?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would love for them to have more diversity, but I don't think that they're going to do that at back.
Anthony, he's my dream.
Oh.
He's an absolute dreamboat.
Oh, even Eric.
I'd take Eric.
I'd be fine with Eric. But if Peter doesn't win, how is it not Peter? Unless somebody on Paradise just, kills it.
I think Diener might be the next.
Oh, I would love that.
I think that would be a good season.
Oh.
Again, I think that they do tend to go toward public pressure, right? I think Dean will get a lot of people.
I think Dean is more of a fan favorite for sure.
Yeah, and it's hard to think of anyone else on the season besides maybe Kenny who people would have liked.
True. I would love it to be Dean over Peter, but it's hard. Peter's just so handsome,
Yeah, he's got a good bod, although all of them do.
Yeah.
None of them have hair on their chest, and they're all very good looking.
Yeah. Could we bring back the chest hair, guys, please?
Just a little, right?
Just a bit. I'm not going to get into it.
Oh, I think this is the time to get into it.
Well, I don't want to be judgmental, but my personal preference is chest hair, but if it's crazy, then maybe, trim it up a little bit.
You want a smattering of chest hair.
Yeah.
Trimmable.
Lucky for me, you have the perfect amount.
Thank you.
I wouldn't change a thing, but...
I've got just a nice tuft right in the middle.
I have felt a chest that has been shaved and stubbly,
Oof.
and it's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, trim. Don't shave.
Yeah.
That's a message to all you men out there.
Yeah. Not a fan of that.
So needless to say, completely expected, Peter did not drop any kind of love.
No.
He didn't even come close. Did he even say falling? I'm beginning to fall?
I don't think so.
He's been quite clear through this whole process that he's very wary of the
Yeah,
whole
and
thing.
I do respect him for that. It's not like he's been, stringing her along like, oh yeah, I'm in love with you, and then it's all out of nowhere. It's like, well, I don't know. He's been very clear this whole time about how he feels.
And, well, we've said it before, he's been the hunk, the undisputable hunk the ball has been in his court.
Well, they showed him in a talking head, I think, saying like, oh, I didn't say I love you. And maybe that'll be why, or maybe that'll make me go home tonight. And he seems so casual about it. He's like, yeah, maybe I'll go home because I didn't say it. He didn't even seem that concerned.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I mean, he's going to win.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's. I honestly haven't read any spoilers. I'm sure
I
the
haven't
winner is
either.
already out there. I came close to reading a couple where it was like Rachel's sister was at some event and she just told everyone.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wish there was a little more tension. And hey, if we're wrong, that's great.
Oh, yeah. I would love to be
Unless
wrong.
it's Bryan.
Oh, yeah.
So up next was the moment we were all waiting for, the date with Dean and Dean's dad in Aspen, Colorado.
Yeah.
A city which we've been to once.
Not that part, I have to say.
We
But...
went to the ski resort, hung around for an hour, and drove back to Vail.
Yep.
We went to a thrift store. That was pretty good.
Yeah,
Good
we
thrift
both
store.
got stuff that we still have to this day.
So I think Aspen ponied up some tourism dollars. Madison did not. We barely saw any of Madison. What did they went to a farmer's market there or
Yeah.
something, right? Pretty cool. Peter claims he does that every Saturday.
I don't know, man. We didn't see any of the nice parts
we saw
of
some
Aspen.
mountains.
Well,
you
mountains
think-
are
You
everywhere.
think Dean's dad lives in the nice part of
No,
Aspen?
but in the beginning, they usually go to the downtown area and...
Yeah, but
frolic
Aspen and
around.
Colorado as a whole is a rugged land, so they went ATVing.
All right.
And I know I speak for everyone here. I felt so bad for Dean through all of this.
I
He seemed so
know.
uncomfortable and so scared. He seemed ashamed too. It was hard to watch at some parts.
Yeah, it really was.
And he sort of set everything up once they did some fun ATVing, and they took to a pre-staged hay bale draped with a flag. No, it was just, I don't know if it was a flag, some blanket. Anyway, Dean sort of set up the situation that we were about to see. The Dean's dad, who now goes by Paramroop, had converted to Sikhism 6 years ago. He's got a big beard. He's got a new wife whose name I do not recall.
Doesn't say on this recap we have here. I did kind of laugh when Dean said what his dad's name is, and Rachel said, "What should I call him?" Paramroop.
Yeah, and apparently
There's no nickname for Paramroop.
another reason we all love Dean. Apparently, before this episode, he was like, everyone because in the preview we saw a snippet of Dean's dad, and he's like, "Don't make fun of my dad for his turban because he's a practicing Sikh."
Yeah.
Dean, cool as shit. Anyway, so he set it up. It was going to be the whole Dean clan under one roof for the first time in 8 years, including his two bros, his sister, his brother's wife or something, and his stepmom.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I got outside the house, Dean was like dying. I felt so bad for him because obviously the exterior of the house, not what we're used to seeing on this show, where normally it's a fairly nice family home. Nice homes are very common in this, right? Mm-hmm. People are
They're not
particularly
always
well
nice,
off.
but for the most part they are.
Yeah, so Dean was so nervous. And actually the first little chunk here wasn't so bad. Mm-hmm. Paramroop was very inviting.
You could tell they were all trying really hard.
Yeah, I wish, side note, I wish we had heard more from Dean's brothers.
I know.
We did see from his sister, but I would have liked to hear from the bros. But anyway, they started things off. Paramroop welcomed them, and that he played his gong, which I thought was quite relaxing.
Yeah, I like that.
Lying down and hearing a slowly...
Ooh, yeah.
how would you say that? Buttering up the gong? When you do it slow like that? Not one big slam, but a gradual build.
Crescendo?
Crescendo, perhaps that is what it officially
That's
called.
what it is in piano. I don't know.
Yeah. And then Dean's dad did a nice little sort of an honorarium mentioning Dean's mom.
Yeah.
He broke down in tears. He gave them feathers. And it looked like, oh, maybe this won't be as bad as we thought. Mm-hmm. And then when everyone started to splinter and start their chats...
I honestly, I don't know if this is me maybe being tricked, but there was a lot of buildup of whether or not Dean would say anything to his dad, because apparently he hadn't really talked about his feelings after his mom died. And I thought he might not, because he has such a hard time opening up. I thought he might just let this opportunity go by.
Yeah, and it's hard to picture the production staff / Dean approaching his dad and the rest of his family and be like, "Look, guys, I know I was on this show. It's got to the point now where usually the camera crew comes in, they meet the family, would you guys be into it?" And I get a feeling Paramroop was like, "Okay, I'll do my gong. well, this is my opportunity to give him this gift. We'll make dinner. That'll be that. I know he didn't expect Dean to bring that up.
I don't think he knew what he was in for.
And like in Eric's chat, you couldn't, like, perhaps they've had that conversation before. I'd imagine have talked deeper than these guys have. Mm-hmm. But that seemed like we were actually watching them talk.
Seriously, the first time that this had been brought up this deeply.
Which I'm a little uncomfortable with.
I know. I wish that wasn't on camera for millions of people to see, but I guess it's good either way that they talked about it. I don't know. I felt a bit icky about it, to be honest.
Really tough.
Yeah.
And you could, Dean, like the look on Dean's face.
And hey, the way his dad reacted, I understand why he doesn't want to talk to him.
Yeah, especially, this is
I know
not
it was
the
an
time to hash it
uncomfortable
out.
conversation for his dad to have on camera, but at the same time, it's like, he wasn't giving him anything.
Yeah, and I'm not going to make excuses for the guy, but it was a weird situation to be put in with these cameras rolling.
Yeah.
And you could tell, I think he felt like he was being put in a corner. You'd think.
Well, he was, kind of.
The nice thing to do would be like, I admit I was bad, and I'm sorry.
Right, that's what I mean.
He didn't
say
fault.
anything to appease Dean. Anything.
Yeah, and Dean just laid it out. He's like, I needed you to be more maternal. And Dean's dad, to his credit, was like, well, look, I didn't know how to do it. All I knew how to do was make money. Mm-hmm. But I guess Dean's
not even
point
I am
is,
sorry or anything.
Yeah, Dean's point is you should have realized that and at least made an effort,
which
appears did not happen. So that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
And then there was a chat Rachel had with the sister where the sister broke down, again, very emotional, and talked about how Dean had a rough time.
Yeah, and how strong he always is, and how much she looks up to him for that. Yeah. Oh, Diener.
Yeah, and then at that point, Rachel tried to talk to Paramroop, which was not happening.
No. He was checked out by that point, you could tell.
Rachel got her words in, though.
She did.
She said, I want you to know that Dean and I have something special, and Paramroop honored that.
Yeah.
But, not that it mattered, because later on, Dean does not get a rose. Which we could see coming.
Yeah, that was one of the early spoilers I got. I was so mad that I always knew Dean wouldn't be the one, but one of the first pictures of the Bachelor in Paradise cast, I saw Dean, so...
Yeah, and here's where the Yarmo Index comes in, too, because he's, 26?
26, yeah.
Peter's spot on at 31.
And Eric's 29.
Yeah.
Bryan's too old, but she loves older guys.
It certainly seems that way, and I'm not confident Bryan's going to win anyway, so that doesn't really matter.
So as far as the final two, let's say it's Eric and Peter, bingo.
Yeah, spot on, Yarmo Index again.
Yep.
But, man, I can't wait to see Dean in Paradise for a show that I'm not really looking forward to, and that it shouldn't have been aired in the first place. Speaking of which, we didn't notice this because we fast forward commercials and we were probably watching the Canadian feed, but there was a promo for Paradise.
Huh.
Obviously using the controversy as a way to sell it, which is like, that makes me really uncomfortable.
So gross. I know we have to watch it, and there probably will be some fun moments.
And it will be good, yeah.
I
just wish they could have ignored it completely.
Could they have not just... I know there's money involved, advertising, whatever, but could they not have just let this season go and start from scratch next year?
Yeah. So Dean. Oh, God. I just want to talk about him the whole time. I felt so bad for him. He's such a sweetie. And today or yesterday, Alex posted a photo on his Instagram of Alex hanging out with him and his brothers and being like, I forget his last name, but the Dean boys showed me such a good time when I visited them. Alex is the king. Let's get him on. Alex should host this show and not Chris Harrison.
Is Alex in Paradise?
I hope so. That would be a blast.
Yeah. Yeah, Alex is one of my faves, too.
Speaking of hosting the show, Chris Harrison reared his little head for the first time in what felt like forever.
I know.
Me and Andy and Sarah over the weekend were talking about this. He's been noticeably absent for most of this season.
When he popped up this episode, I was like, oh, yeah, you.
Yeah, and the stupid part is that all he was there to do was have Rachel explain to him what we had just seen for the previous hour and 45 minutes.
Well, Harrison's presence is basically always a waste of time, but this especially was a complete waste of everyone's time.
Yeah, especially because we figured it was Dean. But, we mentioned earlier that Eric had a smooth date, but let us not forget that the whole thing about him having never brought home a woman at 29, early in that date, they sort of alluded to. So if you're worried about Eric, that would be it. But, hey, Eric was fine.
Yep.
Peter, fine. Bryan, fine. They all get roses, and it looks like they're all going to have the opportunity to bang Rachel
Bang
Lindsay.
in Spain.
Yeah. Spang?
I thought you were having a stroke for a second.
For a second, that's what it sounded like, but I was merely figuring out how to combine those
Spang?
two words. Spang? Yeah. Speaking of Dean, his exit, it was pretty typical. He said she's making a mistake, etc. He alluded, or he talked about how he said he had been falling in love with her.
Yeah, it was
And
a
that
classy...
Rachel said that she was falling in
Yeah.
love with him too, and Rachel was like, "I'm in it," and I believe her.
Mm-hmm. It was a classy exit, and that coupled with the heartache, he has a huge case for being the Bachelor.
I'd love that. I would support that.
I would
100%.
too. Yep.
Would I rather have Anthony? Yes, but I don't think I don't know if we'll see Anthony ever again.
Well, I
Love to
was
see him
gonna
in
say
Paradise.
Dean. He's on the young side for a Bachelor, but so's Anthony.
No, they're both perfect. Really, bring them back. So, Spain. You think it's gonna be a full three banger?
Mm-hmm. Those are the three she has been wanting to bang the most.
And if you were to predict who would be the best lover,
Well, I don't know. I really don't know.
it's hard to say. Bryan's got the porno kissed head hold.
Yeah.
They've been passionate this whole time.
But I feel like Bryan might be a little too much.
Eric's smooth.
Yep.
And Eric's got dance moves, which would indicate some sort of talent in the bedroom, I think. Or does it? I don't know. I'm a 35-year-old married man. But and then Peter, he's got the bod, but does he have the passion?
Well, I think it mostly comes down to her attraction, right?
Yeah, and if we're looking at it as a whole, I think Eric is number one attracted.
Yeah.
Maybe Bryan? I don't know.
It's really hard to say. She's very sexually attracted, seemingly, to all three of these guys.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Either way, Rachel, have fun.
And the problem with the Fantasy Suite episode is that there's a lot of filler.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, to me, it's one of the most overrated episodes of a season because you're like, oh, finally, they get to bang, and, things happen consequentially usually. But then the banging takes like 2 seconds.
No, is next week when Rachel's family gets in too? I forget how this works.
Well, the family
somehow.
always comes to the final destination.
Right. I think we're seeing them next week because it was next week on... Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
Rachel's family gets in there, and that's when Bryan, the shit hits the fan with Bryan.
Right.
I think.
I think so.
And this is going to be the first time we meet Rachel's dad, who was a big topic of
Yeah, he was.
conversation.
That's right. He wasn't
The
at
judge.
Nick's hometown thing.
So it should be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward more to the meeting with the family than the banging.
I
this
really
time.
hope that it wasn't a trick and that Bryan does really say something terrible.
Oh, I think he does. That seemed... Hey, I'll admit I'm wrong and that I've been tricked if next week that's what happens. But I think that he does get caught. I think they grill him enough that he doesn't say anything substantial about Rachel. He uses buzzwords.
I hope so.
And they won't feel that real passion. But then you think, like, will Peter be able to do that? I don't know.
They seem to have more in common and have talked about more real things than she and Bryan, I would say.
Yeah, and there's something about Peter's, the gap teeth, and he's from Madison. He's got all that stuff in common with Rachel.
What does being from Madison have to do with
Didn't Rachel
it?
say she lived there for a short time or
Oh,
something?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Maybe she went to law school. What's the school in Madison called? Is that University of Wisconsin?
I think so.
Cool. College town.
Americans, let us know.
Yeah, Americans, let us know. Now, because I'm doing this podcast, Andy is usually our technical director. I don't think we're going to have the thing at the end of the episode as usual, the pre-recorded thing.
Okay.
So let's get it all over with in one thing. If you feel like supporting the podcast financially, check out our Patreon. I think you can find it through our website, which is thebachelorpod.ca, I think.
Yes.
And if you want someone who doesn't tweet that much, but is still a good person to have on your Twitter list, check out...
Hey. You're right, though. At Olivia Macaulay.
And if you want tweets that don't have anything to do with The Bachelorette or The Bachelor, but are very silly in nature, check out Glenn Macaulay. Glenn, 2 N's, Macaulay spelled like Culkin.
Yep.
I haven't been able to say that in a while because we pre-recorded that part. Anything else? Send us an email.
Well, I guess we could do Andy and Sarah's Twitter as well.
Oh, yeah.
Very quickly, unlike the previous versions. Andy's at Andy Holbone. And Sarah's
is at
the Sarah Hillier.
That's THESARAHILLIER.
You all know what it is.
You all know what it is. So follow us up, send us an email, interact with us, check us out on YouTube, all that stuff. We'll be back next week. I don't know if it'll be just us again.
Hopefully we're 4 strong. If not, deal with it.
Yeah, maybe we'll try to find a guest if we're not. I don't know. Who knows? But enjoy the rest of your week. Stay in love out there. This has been the Bachelor Pod. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Bye.